Super Bash, and I'm out. Basically, I just wanted to put together another video with a couple tips on gearing. I've been working on my Typhon. This thing has been taking a serious beating for the last, I don't know, 2 to 3 months, and I was long overdue for some servicing. Really been grinding a lot the last 2-3 bashes. So anyway, I just wanted to put a quick video together. I ended up having to redo my entire center diff. It had a slow leak, and I really should have got to it a little bit sooner. By the time I cracked this center diff open, not only did I have a broken front planetary gear, but it was pretty much dry, and that's like the first time that's happened to me. And I've gone through these multiple diffs with my different Arrmas. So anyway, so basically my plan was to, I still get a lot of questions on the channel about shimming the diffs. I'm definitely a strong advocate for adding shims. So just my plan was to build one on video, but unfortunately my wife came home early, and anyway, it was a little bit too loud, so I just went ahead and did it. But she took off, and so I wanted to pick up where I wanted to leave off. So basically, one of the tips I wanted to give is if you have a brand new cup that you're replacing, and I do reuse a lot of my stuff. I'll reuse shims as long as they look okay. The gears, just get them cleaned up and rebuild the diff. But if you're using a brand new cup, a tip I had is they come with a grub screw that you have to install, and I've had a hard time getting my threads to set, and I've ended up actually putting them in a little bit cockeyed more than once. I'd recommend grabbing a M4 bolt, screw, and basically just start some threads with it. This is, fairly shallow, but just get some it's a lot easier to start threads with a good sized screw, and then get your grub screw, which I don't actually have laying around, and then get your grub tightened all the way down until it's at least flush or just beyond flush with the case itself. My other tip is when you're rebuilding your diffs, make sure the first thing you do after you've got your bearings cleaned, if you're not putting brand new bearings on, set your bearings on your out drives, okay? I can't tell you how many times, especially if I'm tired at night, when I go to rebuild the diff, and I go ahead and get this in the cup and realize that I forgot to put the bearing on. That's after setting the set pin and putting the planetary gear on. So get in the habit of just setting those right there. And then another tip I wanted to give, you definitely, if you're reusing an O-ring, make sure it's in good condition. Clean it up, definitely cover it in either grease, or you can use a green slime. This stuff's more like a wax. I really like it. It forms an awesome seal. You can't really use too much of this, but I typically just put some right where the O-ring's gonna go. Then I actually cover it in the O-ring, set my O-ring and kind of smash it in. And then this is a little tip I've been doing for months now. Basically, when I go to imagine the O-ring is set, and then once the O-ring's set, I usually put a little bit of diff fluid. This is one of the Mugen shims. This one's actually in pretty bad shape. This is an old one. But basically, I put a little bit of diff fluid on here to stick it up, and then I'll set that on top. I'll set that right on top of the O-ring, and then a lot of times these O-rings are stubborn and they want to pop out. So what I'll do is I'll work this onto the drive right up to where the O-ring is at. Okay, and then basically to keep your O-ring from popping up, what I've gone to is just using a 1/2-inch socket, and I just hold that down as I'm putting this through. And then you guys probably know that the little side cuts in the out drive, they line up with the pinhole, okay? So once you set your pin in, I don't have my pin handy, but either with pickups or needle nose pliers, once you set your pin in, it makes it a little easier for removal of this, it makes it easier to recognize that lines up with your pinhole. Okay, so that slit right there, that's where your pinhole is going to be. So you can just look there and know it'll be right there. Anyway, let me see if there was anything else I wanted to. And going back to, I'm getting a lot of questions about this still. So here's a diff that I had pulled apart, and I'll probably clean this with some, I'll take this apart, clean it with some carburetor cleaner or some brake cleaner more likely, let it dry off. Anyway, so just to clarify, this comes stock with a shim. You've got one shim behind each satellite gear, okay? So what you're going to do when you shim these, essentially what you're doing is you're adding a shim. So you'll have 4 of those. You'll have one behind each satellite gear. You're going to add one to, say, this unit. You just put one on either side. And same thing over here. You just add one shim flat on the existing shim. So you'll have one on one side, 2 on the other. One on one side, 2 on the other. And then behind your planetary gears, that's where you're putting these guys right here, okay? And so there'll just be one behind each planetary gear. But it really tightens up your diff, does a lot to basically decrease gear breakages. And then, as I had talked about months and months ago on another video, basically you want to add at least 2 bearing shims on the crown gear side of your diff. Okay, this has I don't know how the lighting is, but I got brand new bearings in there, cleaned my box out. I was missing, I think, 4 teeth off my crown gear in here. I realized that somehow this diff never got shimmed. So I got a little bit of grease on that gear already in there. But anyway, so these 2 shims go on the out drive. They go on the crown gear side once my diff's all put together. And that baby's going to slide in. You have to be kind of delicate about it. I like to put some grease. I like to put a little bit of grease on these so they'll stay on the bearing while I'm placing it in the diff case. All right. That's pretty much it, guys. I've shared part numbers in the past, but in any case, I'll just do it again. For the bearing shims, I'll either use the Techno TKR 1222, and they're 13 by 16 by 0.1 millimeter diff shims, or I'll use these Kyosho 96772. They're the same size, except they're just slightly thicker. They're 0.15 millimeter. And for your shims, for your planetary shims, I've been using the Mugen Seiki shims, E0206. Typically comes with enough shims to do the whole vehicle. So I think it's six planetary shims, and I think it comes with like 10 satellite shims. I prefer to use Team Durango because these were much cheaper, but as far as I know, they're still on back order. And that's TD 310475. Anyway, that's it, guys. I just want to share a couple tips. You guys have a good one, and I'll see you on the next one. Late. All right, guys, just going to go for a little test run here. Got the Trugified Typhon on 4S. I decided to go ahead and do a tower-to-tower brace on this guy too, because when I was rebuilding all 3 diffs and putting in all new bearings, I noticed my front drive shaft has bent on me twice, and I've actually broken the front body mount. Even the hot racing one, I was actually busting the nut in here. So I might go back to the hot racing and just tap it for 4 millimeter. So the center diff is back working again. But at least she's nice and smooth again. just realized my trencher 2.8, my rear tape job had one of my wheels had popped. So anyway, I'm just going to give this another quick run on 6S with J Concepts G-Locks on here. Well, it's definitely worth it, putting the time in to do the bearings and the diffs, guys.